My name is Heather Falconberry. My research is on the history of Charleston, South Carolina. The purpose of my presentation is to share some information regarding the history of Charleston. I have a handout for you. First, we'll talk about the city's foundational background. Charleston was founded in 1670 and was first called Charlestown.
Where did the name Charleston come from?
It was first named Charlestown after King Charles II and later changed to Charleston in 1763 by the residents who lived there. Charleston was populated by many different cultures. The English were the first to settle here in the late 1600s. In the late 1700s, a lot of the Irish, British, and French migrated here as well. Several groups of Germans came in the early 1800s. They were promised free land and freedom of speech to settle here. Blacks also made up a large portion of the population in those times, about 45% due to slavery that they had. Charleston's connection to the Civil War and slavery began in 1861 with an attack on Fort Sumter. The fort was not yet complete at the time the attacks were started. It was stocked with less than half of the cannons that should have been there due to the government doing military downsizing. The first shots of the Civil War were fired at Charleston Harbor when we were at war with 9 other warships. The shots that were fired were on a federal warship that was entering the harbor to bring relief supplies. Charleston did not fall to federal forces until the last few months of the war. Those federal forces did remain in Charleston while they did their reconstruction. Slavery was a large part of this city during these times. The slaves worked the fields and the crops on all the plantations. They harvested fruits and vegetables, as well as rice fields and cotton fields.
What was their main harvest?
The main harvest was the rice fields and the cotton fields. You'll also see pictures of those in your handout as well. When slavery was abolished, the wealth of the city depleted greatly. A lot of the city's wealth depended on the slaves harvesting these fields and selling the crops. There were approximately 80 to 150 slaves per plantation. After that, segregation became the law of the land. The 3 most historical landmarks of Charleston, South Carolina, you have pictures of those and a brief explanation on your handout. The first is the Four Corners of Law. This was located downtown Charleston at the intersection of Meeting Street and Broad Street. At this intersection, they had City Hall, the county courthouse, the federal courthouse, and St. Michael's Church. These were referred to as Jail, Hell, Bell, and Mail, all in one location. The next of the landmarks is Fort Sumter. It was named after General Thomas Sumter. It was estimated that during the war, approximately 7 million pounds of artillery were shot just at Fort Sumter alone. And only 52 Confederate men were killed and only 267 were wounded. This is a well-known landmark across the country. The next is Charleston Harbor. This is where I said we were at war with the 9 warships. One of those ships actually were sank. 5 were totally demolished but were not sank. The harbor is one of the most beautiful sights to see in Charleston. In closing, the purpose of my research was to provide you with understanding of how the history of Charleston, South Carolina began with its foundational background, its connections to the Civil War, and how slavery was a large portion of this city's history, and the historical landmarks that were left for everyone to learn about and appreciate for years to come. Thank you.